Hi guys, welcome. And who dat? I'm Joe. And today I'm just going to be talking about the Saints this weekend. Let's see what is going on with our beautiful, beloved, bless you boys in black and gold. I guess we'll talk about what happened this past weekend briefly, and then we'll talk about the upcoming game, and we'll talk about the roster as it is right now. As I'm recording this, it's Friday, November 15th. So, 2 days before the Cleveland Browns game. This weekend we played at Atlanta, and the Saints didn't play a very good, very complete game. There were inconsistencies on both sides of the ball. The offense looked good in the first half. The defense looked pretty good throughout, but they still gave up a few big plays. They gave up too much on the ground, but they did stiffen up in the red zone. They held Atlanta to several field goal attempts. Atlanta attempted three field goals that they did not make. Two Koo missed, and one was blocked. So this game could have been a loss with as bad as we played. But there was something different about this Saints team this weekend. They found a way to win the game despite the struggles, despite the injuries, despite the lack of players on the field, despite the lack of really anything to play for with a record as bad as we have. And the Saints managed to win. And that's something we haven't seen from this team in several years, actually. And I feel like it's because Dennis Allen isn't here anymore. Seems like the players were pretty bought in all week before the game. Seemed like not only was the energy boost from the head coach being an energetic guy, there was always also an energy boost from Dennis Allen not being here anymore. I think that's what's going to sustain the Saints to playing well for the rest of the season. It's not just that interim bump because our interim guy has a lot of energy and he's changing things and everything else. It's because Dennis Allen isn't there anymore. And I think that could go a long way, a very long way. So, not to mention that, Darren Rizzi is a pretty energetic guy and he is a guy I think that can hold this team accountable and push them to their limits. We haven't seen this team find a way to win a game. Even when they blew Carolina out a couple of weeks ago in every aspect of the game and ended up losing by 1 point. I feel like if the Saints play that well, we should win the game. Then last week, we didn't play so well. The offense couldn't get anything going in the second half. The defense allows 10 points, not to mention, like I said, could have had 9 more points if Koo would have made those three field goal attempts. We won the game by 3 points. So it seemed like some of the bad luck was rubbing off on us, and rubbing on them. We don't really see that a lot from the Saints. Uh, Teams that have the ball bounce their way are usually good teams. Teams that don't play well but find a way to win anyway are usually good teams. And so it was kind of an anomaly, this Atlanta game. Watching the Saints play pretty poorly and still win, it gives me hope that this team can scratch and claw and find a way to win. So now we got a game against the Browns this weekend, and Jameis Winston coming back into town. The Browns don't look so good. They're in that same bottom tier as the Saints. So a couple more bad teams going at it. Let's look at the offense real quick for our beloved bless you boys in black and gold. And yeah, nothing's changed since last week. Right now, as far as injuries go, we haven't gotten the complete injury report from Friday, but after Wednesday and Thursday, I can tell you Lucas Patrick did not participate with an ankle. Pete Werner did not participate. with a hand. Jamal Williams did not participate with a groin. So those are the only three did not participate. So on the offensive side, Lucas Patrick not participating, ankle injury, did not participate Wednesday or Thursday. I'm hoping we can get Patrick back for this game. In his place was Nick Saldiveri this past weekend. I guess he did okay. I think Oli Udo came in as a sixth offensive lineman on several occasions. He may have had to do some spot duty for Fuanga. I believe Fuanga had left the game and came back. Don't know if Landon Young went in at the time or not. I'm not sure. Uh, but I heard praise for Oli Udo for the time he spent on the field. At first, I thought, well, did he play left guard? Because I don't remember seeing Udo out there, but I do remember seeing Saldiveri. And Fuanga did finish the game. Fuanga's not restricted in practice at all this week. So offensively, that's what we're talking about. Lucas Patrick did not participate. He may be out, so we might have to go in again with Saldiveri. Shane Lemieux is on the active roster again. We released center Connor McGovern, and the good news is that Eric McCoy is limited in practice. He was limited last week. He's limited again this week. I thought we would just wait till this game was done against Cleveland, have the bye week, and then get Eric McCoy fully healthy after that. But there is rumblings that he may play this weekend. He wants to play, but he's still limited. Also on the offensive side of the ball, Cedric Wilson, who missed last week at wide receiver. He is limited this week, but he is practicing. So there's a chance we get Wilson back. So instead of our number one being Marquez Valdez Scantling, our number one might actually be Cedric Wilson with MVS as our number two. Yeah, it's going to be a struggle on offense. Jamal Williams did not participate with a groin. We've got Jordan Mims on the roster right now. Kendre Miller still on IR. So you're talking about Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, and Jordan Mims. Don't know if we bring somebody up from the practice squad at running back or not. Jamal Williams being limited or being did not participate with that groin. It leads me to believe that he's not going to play this weekend. So Williams didn't play last weekend either. And those are your limitations on offense. That's the offensive roster. Let's look at the defense real quick. And nothing has changed here either. Uh, Pete Werner still not participating in practice with the hand injury. It's not unlike the situation with Willie Gay, where Gay ended up missing a couple of weeks because of that hand issue. So I'm hoping that they're just taking it easy on Werner and he'll be able to go this weekend. We'll find out for sure come Saturday. Check the injury report for the Saints later on today and find out who was a limited participant and who was a DNP, because if Werner doesn't practice up until game day, I'm pretty sure he's still good enough to get in there and do it. But that's iffy, and that sucks because Werner's been the best player on defense the last couple of weeks when he's on the field. So be nice to have Werner back. Also, Kool-Aid McKinstry is a full participant after missing last week with a hamstring. Kool-Aid McKinstry was a full participant yesterday in practice, so looking good there. Also, Nephi Sewell has been full participant 2 weeks in a row now. This might be his third week. If Sewell doesn't make the active roster, then he's going to be on IR the rest of the year. So on offense, we're looking for Eric McCoy to come back, and we'll make a corresponding move for that. And then on defense, yeah, Kool-Aid coming back. Pete Werner may not play. JT Gray was limited, but he was practicing. And Nephi Sewell, he'll have to find a spot on the roster. I'm assuming that they'll let Millard Bradford go at safety and keep Sewell. That'll be 7 linebackers. That'll be kind of insane. Sewell is one of those guys that was pretty good for the last couple of years. Maybe Dennis Allen wanted to keep Sewell around like we have, and perhaps this new coaching staff will decide, no, Sewell can just stay on IR the rest of the year and we'll start fresh next year. Not sure if you want to put the 5th round pick, Jalen Ford. Not sure if you want to waive him and try to put him on the practice squad. Not sure if you want to waive any of the linebackers right now to put them on the practice squad for Sewell. So, all right, that's the defense. So there you go. It sucks that Lucas Patrick might not play on offense. It sucks that we're so light at running back with Kendre Miller and Jamal Williams not available. But if you get Eric McCoy back and if you get Cedric Wilson back, then we'll even be closer to full health. It would be nice to have Patrick back and McCoy back and then have that starting offensive line for us. I'm really holding out hope Eric McCoy plays. Because no matter who's at guard, if Eric McCoy's at center, then yeah, we're going to look a lot better on offense. All right, the Cleveland Browns. I don't have much to say about that. I don't think Jameis Winston is all that good of a quarterback. I mean, he's hot and cold. He can be great, and I know he's going to put a lot of balls in harm's way. So I'm hoping the Saints can get their hands on a few, and I'm hoping Jameis has one of them days that's, not so good compared to some of them days he has that's pretty good, and hope the Saints win. And that's how I'm going to finish this video, by talking about the Saints and whether they should win or lose. We're in a bad spot right now, 3-7, 3-7. Yeah, we win 4 more in a row, we'll be 500. So we've got one game down. We've won one, and I'm not one to tank. I don't want to tank. I would consider tanking if there were 3 or 4 games left, and let's say we lose the next three. If we lose the next three, then I would consider tanking for the last 3 or 4. But I'm not considering tanking right now. I'm considering finding out how much Dennis Allen held us back as a team. I want to find out how good these players can be when they're all healthy and ready to go. I want to know how good this roster can be. It's a big discrepancy from what we saw in week 1 and 2 and compared to what we've seen in the last month and a half, 2 months. So somewhere in the middle is our football team. And if we are somewhere in the middle of blowing teams out and losing games we should have won, looking awful, can't score when we're bad, but when we're good, finding a way to win, even though we don't play good, somewhere in there is our football team. And every weekend that comes, I'm going to cheer for the Saints and I want them to win. And with every win, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to love the players that brought us to victory. I'm going to want to keep those players, especially in this situation. If they can go out and fight and scrape and scrap and claw and find a way to win, despite everything that's against them right now, it's going to show a lot of character for these players. It's going to show that our interim head coach, Darren Rizzi, is a motivator and can organize and get these players to do the right thing, to buy in and to play despite everything that's against them. If they can rip off 3 or 4 in a row, it's going to say a lot about the character. I mean, we've got to say it. Despite the record. But being that there's a bad record here, it's almost more impressive. But I remember the great teams of the Saints in the past, teams that won 13 games, 12 games. Those were teams that found a way to win no matter what. And they were teams that were immensely talented. So with Drew Brees, you always had a chance, right? So is this team talented enough to win a bunch of games? I think they are. I think that same as the beginning of the year. I think we're the middle of the pack. And if the ball bounces our way and we show some fortitude, then we can win a little more than expected. But, I think Dennis Allen was the main reason why we weren't going to win as many as was expected. We were going to lose more than we were expecting to lose. So, yeah, I blame Dennis Allen on all of it. I think that there's things I would have done different in the draft, but a lot of the players that we're focusing on right now, in the last couple of drafts, they're still young guys. We're still trying to figure out what we have with Trevor Penning. We're still working it out with Alante Taylor. There's a lot of young guys, Jordan Howden. There's a lot of guys that right now you're thinking, I don't know if we're going to turn the corner with these guys or not. And then sometimes they play well and sometimes they don't. And we have to remember they're still young. Alante Taylor, especially, who's getting jerked around, playing nickel. First he starts on the outside, then they play him at nickel. Sometimes they put him on the outside when there's an injury after he's been at nickel all practice all week long. And then last week we put him on the outside the entire game for the first time probably in his career. And he did struggle last week, but I think that's what happens. I mean, you have to do different things technique wise. You have to think about different things, whether you're on the outside or whether you're at the nickel. And yeah, those wires get crossed. And we heard about that with Taylor, that sometimes the wires get crossed. So I expected him to have some struggles on the outside, being a full time participant on the outside now. But I think it just gets better. I personally think Taylor is a great outside corner. I thought he would be a better outside corner than a nickel, but he's worked so hard at nickel and gotten pretty good that it's hard to tell what you have now. He's going to be asked to work on the outside. I think he's going to get better and better as the rest of the season goes on. So I like Taylor. It's interesting to see what our rookie Kool-Aid's going to do. And as far as nickel goes, I think Ugo Amadi does pretty good. He's not going to be great. He made the last tackle of the game this past weekend. He makes that tackle, game is over, and he made the tackle. Not a lot of people point at that, but Amadi has struggles in coverage sometimes, but versatile enough to play outside corner, nickel, and safety. And right now, he's a good nickel for us. We need a nickel because our nickel's playing outside. So you get Rico Payton back. He can play on the outside. Shemar Jean Charles at cornerback can play on the outside a little. He's, hot and cold right now. He's a young guy. Overall, he did okay. So, let's see what we have. Let's see what players on this team is going to stand up and earn a spot on this roster for the future. One more thing I'll talk about from this past game. The defensive line looked a lot better. We didn't blitz a lot. We didn't do a lot of stunts. We just had Brian Young, our new defensive line coach, had our guys focusing on fundamentals, and all of a sudden we see production from the defensive line, even without blitzing, even without tricking the other team or stunting or anything like that. We just worked on fundamentals, and we saw Cameron Jordan get a sack. We saw Peyton Turner get a sack. We saw Chase Young get a sack. Two forced fumbles in the mix, too. So I thought it was a great effort by our defensive line, and I think it bodes well for our change there because I thought Todd Grantham was holding us back. Sorry if he's been great before, but I'm hoping that that little bump continues as well of energy from Brian Young, our new defensive line coach, to our defensive linemen who have struggled a lot in the last couple of years. Let's see if all of this continues. And yeah, I've mentioned my feelings about Darren Rizzi before. I think he's the perfect guy to be the head coach. I don't want an offensive guy or a defensive guy who's going to be biased. I want a guy who's going to call it out like it is. I want a guy who's going to sit the quarterback if he's playing bad, sit the cornerback if he's playing bad, and fire the coaches if they're performing bad. So would Dennis Allen have ever demoted Todd Grantham from the defensive line coach? Well, he didn't. We've been struggling for years at defensive line. Todd Grantham remained our defensive line coach. And as soon as Dennis Allen's gone, a change is made. A change from a special teams guy that's now our interim head coach who doesn't have a bias towards the defense. who doesn't think it's going to reflect badly on his choices. You make a bad choice, you need to get rid of it. Oops, my bad, and get rid of it. Okay. Now, I don't think Mickey Loomis will ever do anything like that without, Gail forcing him to. That's another story. That's all I got for today. I'm Joe. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more videos about our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. And we'll see if we can rip off 2 in a row by beating the Browns this weekend in the Caesars Superdome. I'm cheering for them, and we'll talk about it next week. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?